and Flashpoint. And again, this is one of those matches where you just cannot afford to overlook your opponent, because despite Flashpoint not finding any victories quite yet on this split, there's a pretty competitive roster, and we saw yesterday in Europe, it was Burrito, they have 0 wins in the set, in the split, excuse me, and they almost found the win over Obey.
Yeah, they were only missing a little bit of player experience. If they'd had, Anorexia said it himself, if they'd had a little bit more experience with the SPL and competitive play, they probably would have lost that game. And realistically, the same thing is still possible for Flashpoint here. Pretty unlikely, considering eUnited, I'm sure, are more than hungry to try and secure out this set just to put themselves to the 10 points, but never let your guard down.
Flashpoint first picking that Osiris for the solo lane. Serket and Fafnir were Flashpoint spans. eUnited, they went with Susano and Terra, trying to keep that Susano out of Mirage's hand and Terra out of Shadow Q's. eUnited going for Geb and Sol right off the bat. We've seen eUnited and mid laner Chaos just fall in love with Sol during this split.
And for good reason. I mean, we just saw what happened last game with Baskin on that Sol. Sol is just so strong right now. She's incredibly safe. Her Stellar Burst does a decent amount of damage, as well as just proficient lane clear. And lane clear early on is really what matters right now.
Khepri and Thor, the 2 selections for Flashpoint, 2 comfort picks for Shadow Q and Mirage, the 2 veterans on the squad. And eUnited, they get Bellona for Benji. So Flashpoint, they first picked the Osiris, but we've seen Benji pick this Bellona into that pick pretty often and have a lot of comfort with it.
And I like the Nemesis ban from Flashpoint. They already had the Osiris and the Khepri locked in. They might be looking for yet another tanky kind of frontlining aspect just to try and round out their draft. It seems as though Flashpoint seems to prosper whenever they go for the tankier drafts.
Nemesis and Naja focusing out Verizial for Flashpoint, whereas eUnited taking shots at Flashpoint's mid laner with a Thoth and Raw. Panda Cat, he's going to take that Hu Yi, so plenty of CC already in this composition for eUnited, as well as a lot of AoE. I mean, you got the Soul Ultimate, the Stellar Burst, and then Bellona ult and Hu Yi ult. I mean, that's a lot of circles that you got to avoid if you're Flashpoint.
And Manray's trying to bring in a circle of his own. I mean, Mirage technically has one too. It's just significantly smaller compared to everybody else's. But
Current has a circle.
I guess circles is kind of the
Khepri has a circle.
Game plan
His
here.
Root's a circle.
No, literally, I think all these
and
gods
Osiris
actually
has
have
circle.
circles.
Yeah.
Every single god right now has a circle. That doesn't happen too often.
Geb has a circle in Cataclysm, but it's only his ultimate, I suppose.
But so does Bellona on her ultimate.
That's true. I mean, the first part of Bludgeon's a circle.
Yeah, everything just works out really. And
Camazotz has no. Oh no, his 3 is a circle.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, the little target is a circle. We got 10 circles coming your way. I mean, Camazotz is one of those picks that has really started to shine in EU in particular, but NA has also dabbled in a little bit. But it makes it all the way to that last pick position for eUnited's jungler Verizial. Let's get into the game and see exactly how this composition for eUnited and Flashpoint are going to work out.
And the thing about Camazotz too is that he is really skill oriented. You kind of need to land every single one of your abilities. They can be a little bit trickier to get on target every single time, but if you aren't careful with your positioning, it's a very easy god to fall behind on.
But there's plenty of maneuverability, I think, in terms of eUnited's composition between Chaos and the shields from PBM can help out Verizial, but Walrus is coming on the back, misses the initial slow onto Verizial, but still Verizial going to use the Purification Beads. Great slow there by Chaos, though, to prevent the push forward from the rest of Flashpoint.
I think that Walrus actually still came out on top there, just forcing out Verizial's bees even after missing the circle. So I think that that's still in Flashpoint's favor. And
Benji got pressure in that lane, so he's going to be here to stop this pressure coming out of Flashpoint. Somehow Flashpoint still managed to get both minis there, I believe. Benji does hit level 2, so eUnited going to be able to secure both of their own side buffs on the right.
I'd say that's a nice break for Benji, not having to worry about losing his blue buff, and Verizial as well, still able to secure his speed. So works out all around from eUnited.
Now Flashpoint have the choice. Do they want to go for their own buffs on the right-hand side or go for the neutral objective, the fire elementals? And looks like Mirage wants his speed. Surprise, surprise. Jungler's more worried about their own speed than some of these neutral objectives, but I don't think they could have fought into eUnited anyways on the fire elementals, considering Verizial's level 3, whereas Mirage just now getting that third ability.
I think it's also just incredibly annoying trying to fight into Bellona in an area where the bludgeon is best thing possible. And for Mirage, I mean, it's questionable whether or not he would actually even have his 2 leveled right now.
Verizial's coming around the backside. He's looking for the gank, but Mirage was ready for it. He did have the 2, but now Mirage is the one in trouble. Use the Purification Beads, but that doesn't get you away from Benji's bludgeon. Verizial flaps his wings in celebration as eUnited, they get the first blood.
And that's pretty much exactly what he wanted to try and avoid early on, is just that initial damage. Camazotz has such high base damage on all of his abilities that as long as you're connecting, you're chunking.
Farizio going to heal up off of the blood pool left by Mirage and then try and rotate towards the middle lane and get some pressure onto Man Ray. Vulcan, one of those characters that can struggle up against gods like Camazotz, who have some decent control, but really just rely on you not being able to get away from them.
But look at Man Ray. He's still level 3. I mean, granted, he's right about turn 4, but he's still trailing behind, even after the start they had. And I think it's just because they were unable to find the first blood kill. They didn't get an actual invade off onto eUnited's jungle camps, and Walrus just split the first wave.
And Chaos has been able to solo a lot of these waves with Farizio immediately hitting that right-hand side, though Mirage did the same, but Man Ray just has not been able to have the same amount of control thus far. Vulcan, a lot more of a late-game oriented mage. Not really thought of in terms of late-game mages. You usually think of Thoth and Scylla, but Vulcan can really fill that role of crazy damage in the late game, but struggles in the early stages.
Especially against a Soul who doesn't have the same concerns at all. But pairing alongside of the Camazotz, it is going to take a little bit more synergy between Chaos and Farizio to connect as far as Chaos's ultimate is concerned.
Yeah, no setup for the jungler. This Man Ray going to use the ultimate, but only clears the archers with it. Missed the melees. May look a little curious, but oh no, he's going to get his back stopped here, and then Polar Bear Mike blinks forward, knock up Cataclysm. Man Ray falls. That one hurts. We've all been there, all right? Look, chat, we've all been there. We've all done it. It's a little unfortunate, but it happens to the best of us.
Sure. Anyway, I think that Sops and Shadowkey are just trying to make things happen in this dual lane side. At least they secured their own buffs despite that death coming through in the mid lane.
And Man Ray doesn't have a starter item. Instead went for this Book of Thoth rush right off the bat, electing to try and get himself closer to that late game where Vulcan can be very impactful, but like I mentioned, struggles in the early. But whenever you finish off a big power item like Book of Thoth right to start it off, does give you some extra power, yes, but you do sacrifice that mobility and penetration that the boots give you.
Benji having the upper hand as well in Walrus because of that first blood I think that he was able to secure. That was a pretty big pickup for him. And as an Osiris, it's never a fun time when you're falling behind the Bellona.
And now it's going to be Mirage heading over to try and give Walrus some help on this right-hand side. But Benji's willing to take the 2v1, and after Mirage misses the stun on the bludgeon, he's going to eat a bunch of damage because of that, making sure that he pays for his transgressions. Benji with no fear, and this is what we've come to expect from Benji. He's kind of taken over this helm of bully solo laners who don't care what you do or what you think. They're just going to do whatever they want, a la, you know, the Divioses and Omegas of the world. Farizio tries to time out that 3 to get over the Judgment Tether stun from Walrus, but mistimed it a little bit and ate a Spirit Flail for his troubles.
But having the Fire Elemental control is heavily in favor of eUnited. They're just gathering so much neutral gold right now on the map.
Now again, Polar Bear Mike coming around the back, looking for the Cataclysm on a Man Ray, because again, he doesn't have Purification Beads, only that Aegis, but that time Man Ray and Shadowkey wise to the gank, so both able to escape. Walrus definitely losing this boxing match on the right-hand side. Benji controlling this lane as far, again, harking back to that first blood that Farizio helped him get.
But what Walrus has to be careful of is he needs to back here pretty soon. Farizio has his ultimate available. One ult from Benji and then followed up by Rizzo, I think, very will secure Walrus.
But Farizio's hanging around the mid lane, very determined to get that mid farm and continue to put pressure onto Man Ray whenever he doesn't have the boots. Walrus heeds your advice, though, Taco, and does head back to base. No teleport available for Flashpoint's veteran solo laner, but going to be able to get back to that wave for the next one. Mirage going to clean up the one that's waiting for him under tower.
And I know that that's farm that Mirage is more than happy to secure as a jungler. Having that early death is, and then Benji poking him out in that soul lane side can make things pretty difficult.
Pretty quiet start after the explosive beginning between Flashpoint and eUnited, and eUnited's composition really does start to shine in that mid to late game stage. I mean, Chaos on this Soul, like you mentioned, doesn't have the early clear problems that Vulcan can suffer from, but in terms of effective player damage, Soul really does take a little bit of time to become relevant. You could say the same about Hu Yi in terms of the team fights. Rizio's going to be effective for quite some time still on this Camazotz, so eUnited probably waiting for those teen numbers to start popping up on the clock before they want to start playing aggressive.
The thing about Hu Yi, though, is that Hu Yi still has a very solid matchup against the Kern. And Panic Cat, you can tell just by looking at eUnited's draft, they're looking for that AoE kind of crowd control lockdown. So I think that it's very wise of the team to kind of just keep playing around each other.
Panda Cat looks like he's going for the Devourer's Gauntlets here, Taco, and that's an item that we haven't really seen in a Hunter v Hunter matchup in a while. We see it every once in a while whenever it's a Hunter versus a magical ADC, but why are we seeing it in this scenario?
He can afford to be a little bit more greedy as far as a Devos is concerned and pick that item up. Oh, Verizio looking to try and get some solid poke onto Walrus. He's going to be off that ability, but basically the mentality behind Devourer's Gauntlets is, sure, the power spike takes a little bit longer to get there, but if you're able to just free farm away in your lane, which is basically what Panda Cat is able to do because of the lead that eUnited established early on, he has like no concerns at all, and later on after he gets an Ickful or an Executioner, he's still going to have a lot of damage potential.
Good damage on a Sops, and Sops going to drop the ultimate. Panda Cat uses the Aegis to get out of that damage. Shadow Q on the way. Panic Cat decides to back up a little bit. On the right side, no backing up. As Polar Bear Mike blinks forward, finds a two-man knockup along with the Cataclysm. Mirage never got his ultimate off. Virizial's, the dive is on. Trying to find that last shot, but realizes the last one wouldn't even be enough to knock down Walrus with that full passive, giving him 16% physical damage mitigation. So instead, Virizial gives up the chase, but another kill on the Mirage goes eUnited's way.
He probably could have afforded to stay diving there, but just didn't want to risk it in case he might not have had enough mana or his cooldowns were there for too long. Didn't want to have Benji or Polar Bear Mike dying for no reason.
Tanking up that tower for him, but Virizial not going for the usual shifter shield in that second item slot. Instead, looks like he's going pure penetration right off the bat. This is what we usually see happen, Taco, where everyone's like, man, this new item's so good. I'm building it on every god in every situation, and it's obviously the best. And then people start to think, yeah, maybe I should go for it in a different slot. It kind of falls out of favor, and teams realize how to be utilizing it effectively instead of just all the time.
He can favor Jotuns here, though, just because he's already fairly far ahead of Mirage. So if you have the goal to get that 20% CDR online, if it is a Jotuns that he opts for, he could just randomly go with the Brawlers instead, for example. But
sure.
I kind of just expect that to be the Jotuns just because of the CDR.
Chaos going for the typical Bancroft's Talon in the mid lane. Man Ray has completed his boots, so that lack of mobility he suffered from early on now mitigated. And now he's got plenty of damage. That's a huge power spike after you complete those boots when you rush the Book of Thoth, because not only do you get a bunch of power and penetration out of nowhere, but you also have, what, 60 stacks on the Book of Thoth ready to go. So you all of a sudden are doing much more damage than most teams will anticipate. It's
really just the Aegis rush that I have concerns for on Man Ray. We already saw one death happen because he wasn't even able to get his Aegis off in time. You can't Aegis if you're CC'd. Geb has 2 excellent forms of CC, a third if you get caught by that rollout. And then there's also just Benji on this Bologna, who I'm almost certain is going to just be looking to chase down Sops and Man Ray.
Got that Mystical Mail completed already. Went for the greedier, more expensive build, but with the lead that Benji has earned for himself on that right-hand side, can't blame him for thinking that he can get away with it, because he certainly has. Usually the Mystical Mail is most vulnerable, and sitting in that Steel Mail slot just before you finish off the expensive tier 3 of the item. We're almost 11 minutes in, and Benji's already completed that part.
And that's probably just due to the lead they've already had. Shadowkey looking to go in, but Polar Bear Mike with the counter engage.
Mirage never gets off the ground again. Bracer of Undoing comes up big for Shadowkey, but bigger body blocks out of Virizial. Good meatball coming out of Man Ray prevents that body block from going through. Shadowkey still forced to ult himself. Big burst damage coming out of the eUnited side.
Oh, no,
and now
Walrus.
It's Walrus on the run. Polar Bear Mike gonna knock him up and smack him with the Geb hand. PBM with his second kill.
There's just nowhere to go in that circumstance, but better for the kill to go to Polar Bear Mike than to Benji on that Bologna.
Polar Bear Mike is going to get Sunder as a second relic, right? As the leader of the Blink and Sunder clan?
He kind of has to. Otherwise, he's a liar for the Blink and Sunder clan. He can't be leader of it anymore.
Man Ray with the ultimate. Virizial going to eat a big chunk of damage, but not deterred in the slightest. If anything, Man Ray helped out eUnited secure this Portal Demon, and now up 5-0 in kills. No Gold Furies quite yet, but a Portal in favor of eUnited puts them up right around 4,000 gold.
This is kind of going the way that I think most people expected it to as far as eUnited and Flashpoint are concerned. I do think that eUnited are very much taking this match seriously. Cheeky ricochet from Panda there.
It's kind of a heat check. Like, yeah, I can hit this if I need to later on. Keep that in mind, Sops. And Sops has gone for less... Panda build is very traditional. It's what we used to see all the time in SMITE. The lifesteal rush. Now with the Ichabal right afterwards is Flashpoint. Starting up this Gold Fury falling pretty low here, and they're trying to full commit to it. Polar Bear Mike with a big Cataclysm and knock-up, and he gets the Gold Fury for his efforts. eUnited steal it away. Panda shows up and makes an impact. 1 kill on a Shadow Q, another one on a Mirage. You can make that 3 as Sops falls to the hand of Chaos, and eUnited just rolling over Flashpoint right now.
That's pretty much game. I don't like saying that's game in advance for a lot of these circumstances, but nobody was zoning on the side of Flashpoint. They kind of just let the Geb roll in and cataclysm everybody into a knockup.
See, I would agree with you, but Polar Bear Mike went shell. That's not a Sunder, Taco.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, maybe Polar Bear Mike was just a liar.
Yeah, just not holding up his end of the bargain. eUnited doing everything they can, though, despite Mike lying directly to them by getting that tier 1 tower in mid and in left. That's another 1,000 gold on top of the couple hundred they just got from stealing away that Gold Fury. That gold lead was already pretty big, but now getting to be catastrophic. 8,000 at 13 minutes is very difficult to overcome. More so than that, 10K experience.
Yeah, for me, it's really the experience difference that kind of spells it out. Flashpoint, their mindset, I think, when trying to secure that Gold Fury is almost like a last-ditch effort. It's kind of like when you go for the Fire Giant knowing that you're drastically behind the enemy team. You just do it because it's sort of your last hope to catch up or try to delay the game a little bit longer so you can try and catch up. But ultimately, when you lose it in that manner, it's just too much.
Panda getting baited right now by Sops. There's the ultimate out of Mirage, and the CC chain is good. Sops going to be able to survive. Great gank there from Mirage. But now Sops has got to get out of danger. Verizio blinks forward and finds him with the Vampiric Bats. Flashpoint got on the board, but eUnited immediately answer back. Polar Bear Mike just off the mark with that Blink Cataclysm.
We gotta impeach him from the Blink and Thunder clan.
There's the ultimate out of Shadow Q, keeping Mirage alive. Chaos drops his own ultimate, but doesn't come up with any kills because of it. So Flashpoint answer back a little bit there, finding the kill on a Panda.
This is inexcusable. I bet if he had Sunder there, he would have hit that Cataclysm.
Close the gap, yeah.
So.
You know what we should do? We should make Sunder slow. That would have made him
Somebody's going to take that seriously.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just waiting for it. But
wait, what do you mean? I am serious.
Oh, God, aggro. Stop.
How could I not be serious about that?
Come on, man. Sunder's too broken. So, anyway, we do see pretty much eUnited kind of just... I mean, Panda takes up that 1v1 there because he's so far ahead. He would have had that pretty cleanly at the cost of his actives. I think that Sops did play that probably as well as it could have, being as behind as he is.
But that shifter shield came up big for Sops in that scenario. We've got a lot of protections falling below that 50% threshold, and that allowed Mirage to get there in time. Now Sops has to be worried, though, because Benji is on the way, knowing that Sops doesn't have any purification beads. Look at the route that Benji's taking. Sops could have just tried to back, but instead Benji gonna let him go. I don't think no ward vision, so nowhere to tell exactly if Sops had backed or where he was on the map.
The thing is, though, about the shifters, I like the mindset behind it most of the time. Meanwhile, Polar Bear Mike trying to roll in again to victory, but everybody from Flashpoint just going to fall back to that T2 tower. But like I was saying, I like the mindset behind shifters. You kind of need to stay above 50% health, though, if you want the full benefits of it, because that's where you get the power from. If you're not above 50% health, sure, you get a little bit of protections, but when your whole team is behind, you kind of anticipate not being able to stay healthy. Just look at Mirage.
Surprise, surprise, Mirage already knocked below that threshold that you were talking about. Verizio and Chaos both waiting in the wings, forcing out the Aegis from Flashpoint's jungler. eUnited playing this one pretty conservative so far, despite their big lead, deciding they don't want to group up and try and siege a tier 2 quite yet, likely waiting for the respawn of the next Gold Fury before they feel comfortable doing that.
I think they also just really want this Portal Demon just to secure as much objectives as they can. Panic Cat could also probably solo that Gold Fury whenever it pops up.
Blink forward on a Man Ray. There's the damage from Verizial. Ultimate coming out of Man Ray is not going to matter, but the ultimate out of Shadow Q will. Good ultimate from Shadow Q, the support for Flashpoint. Man Ray going to be able to get away because of it. The dunk down from Verizial, or excuse me, Mirage is good enough to stun out Chaos, but there's the ultimate out of Benji as well. Panda Cat finds Shadow Q. Benji's gonna knock down Mirage. The sun's raining down. Gonna force Man Ray and Sops back. Meanwhile, Verizial taking care of this tier 2 tower. There's the engagement that eUnited was looking for, waiting among Flashpoint's speed buff respawn. They get 1,500 more gold in their pockets, another invade, and now head their way towards that Portal Demon they wanted.
It's unfortunate for Flashpoint because I really think that this is just an issue where there was an unfortunate first blood in the solo lane side, and then that death by Man Ray in the mid lane shortly after just kind of got Verizial really far ahead as well. And so Flashpoint just fell behind early and haven't really been able to fight back into this comp by eUnited. It is a really strong team-oriented comp.
I agree with you when you said that the Gold Fury call was very similar to the, you know, down 9K, let's just try and all in a Fire Giant and see what happens, that we see a lot of teams go for. But Flashpoint's call for that was a little bit early in my mind. I mean, yes, Verizial was very far ahead and Mirage was not, but I just feel like they probably could have held off on an all-in potential than a little bit longer than they did.
I mean, granted, greed was probably a factor in trying to make that call, and at the same time, when you see a Geb rolling towards you, I guess you kind of don't expect the Shockwave to really deal enough damage to steal the goal for you. You just anticipate with a Vulcan on your team, you might be able to secure that one.
Well, trying to secure this Fire Giant as eUnited. Falling below 50% HP. Panic Cat's going to be able to tank this up very well, courtesy of those Devourers gauntlets that he built. Double dunk comes down from Mirage, a full combo onto Verizial, and that's going to be gone. Walrus is going to claim that one for himself. Now Mirage on the run. Good ultimate once more out of Shadow Q. Another revive, courtesy of the veteran support. But all the while, Panic Cat was on that Fire Giant. eUnited get it onto the remaining 4 members.
And that's just the benefits of being able to rush the Devourer's gauntlets. Panic Cat wasn't really pressured in the slightest in that dual lane side, just because the rest of the map was being so pressured by eUnited. The only deaths that he saw was because of that over-aggression onto Sops.
Tier 2 tower on the right, no longer. Only one left now, and it's in that dual lane. Another 1,500 gold for eUnited and pushes their lead up above around 15,000, I should say. Above 15,000 is the experience difference. Going to have a couple members hitting level 20 soon for eUnited, just before the 20-minute mark, and that's a pretty fervent pace of farming to be hitting 20 as the game clock gets 20 itself.
Sometimes you just have those games where you get ridiculously far ahead. This is one of them. It's really just based around that initial Gold Fury call, where it's almost impossible to not snowball out of control. No towers left standing for Flashpoint. The rest of eUnited going to back up and spend what they've earned. Benji, Polar Bear Mike, and Panda Cat all getting an opportunity. Now Chaos will as well. Verizial got a chance to spend his when he was waiting for the respawn timer, but now eUnited all decked out. A lot of power items being completed as well. I mean, look at Panda Cat's build. He's almost full build. Just waiting on that last chunk of gold for Deathbringer at this stage. Chaos has finished off Rod of Tahuti. Benji's nearly full build. He's gone for Ichabod and Charged Bow and Stone Cutting Sword and Ansile. We don't see these items ever on Bologna. I mean, yeah, Deathwalker's build featured the Stone Cutting for a while, but Ansile? That's just because he can. That's not because that's a Benji thing to do. I don't think that that's something that he believes is like the standard go-to for Bologna. That's just Benji kind of being Benji. Fair enough. So. Sops being in trouble right now, and Panda Cat's the one chasing him down. Doubt he's going to be able to survive. Trying to take the boxing fight, and actually Sops is getting the better end for the time being. Verizial says, don't worry, buddy, I got this one for you. You can start healing up off that red buff. Verizial knocks down Sops. That's 3 now in total for eUnited's jungler. Benji with his Ansile, diving into the Phoenix, diving into the Titan room, but no real response from Flashpoint. PBM and Benji, the two, underneath this right side Phoenix, leaving Chaos all alone to find this middle one all by himself.
And Flashpoint kind of got distracted by the two tanks on the right-hand side. There's a Blink Cataclysm for Polar Bear Mike. Mirage forced to use his beads and get away. Panicat now full HP shows up once more. Walrus on the run. Knockup is good from Polar Bear Mike, but not enough to find Panicat the kill, as the right side Phoenix is the focus from Benji and his insane attack speed with the two bows. That one's going to fall. Verizial's handling the left side. Phoenix all by himself. And eUnited, in a very, very clean performance here, Taco, look likely to take game one.
I don't think that there's any way for them to not take game number one. They might farm up a few kills first, though, and I think that'll be their primary concept. Panicat not even dropping his ultimate onto the Titan, just looking to lock down that kill in the Shadow Cube, but he gets back into the Titan room. And now Benji ulting the backline inside the base with his Bologna ultimate.
Chaos right in there as well. Titan gets reset. Not a lot of minions coming in quite yet into this Titan room as Panicat continues to put some pot shots into Shadow Q. Now with the minions coming in, it's eUnited's chance to try and end this one if they so choose. Though not a lot of ultimates on their side, only Verizial's, and that's not the DPS ultimate onto the Titan that you're really looking for.
There's no way that they end this game before finding at least one or two picks, if it's the eUnited that is showing to be right here. They want those picks first.
That's half the fun, Taco, is getting kills in the fountain. Chaos was looking for it, but couldn't quite find it. Now it doesn't matter. There's the Blink Cataclysm from Polar Bear Mike. Not a whole lot doing in terms of kills, but that Titan getting pretty low. eUnited thinking about resetting it, and it does go to the minions. Now eUnited's going to get in there and finish it off. And right as Chaos falls, you know he's angry at his team for letting him die and put